Niners fans, it's about that time, 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. Faithful Niner Empire. What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to be on with the best fans in the NFL, the faithful, the Niner Empire. I appreciate everyone who will be tuning in tonight. It is a special night tonight. I do have a guest with me. But as you guys know, this is, of course, a 49er YouTube channel. I will sprinkle in a skosh of NFC West news. We may even talk about some NFC West news today with my guests. But feel free to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, also hit that bell notification so you know when I upload videos and live streams. You can check me out, Jay in the Bay, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And let's bring on our guest tonight. The first time he's been on the Jay in the Bay show, and I don't think it'll be our last time. He is a 49ers content creator. Resides in the Bay. That's pretty rare nowadays. A lot of 49er content creators don't actually live in Cali, but it doesn't matter. If you're a fan of the faithful, it doesn't matter. You're still a fan. But let's bring on gentleman, goes by the name of Shifty. He has a YouTube channel, Shifty's 49ers Talk. And make sure you check him out, IG, Twitter, YouTube. All his social media links are in the description below. He's almost, I believe he's at 569 subscribers. So let's help this man get to 600 subscribers. And let's bring on Shifty. What's
yo,
good?
Yo.
How you doing?
Good.
How you doing tonight, man?
Be here. Man, it is great to be here. I've been watching your stuff for a while. We kind of talked about it. And I always love talking 49er football with people who are passionate about it, people who know their stuff. So, it's going to be a good time, man. Really looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. And I first noticed your channel, and you were very passionate and, very even keeled, and you knew your stuff. And that's why I was like, man, I got to get Shifty on. But as we were talking about earlier, we got jobs, we got families. It's hard to get that timing just right. But hey, the timing was right tonight, and hopefully it will be again once the regular season comes. But feel free to tell the people in the chat, tell the people, where they can find you at on social media, and how did you start a YouTube channel?
Cool. Yeah. So on YouTube, Shifty 49ers Talk, put that in. I should come right up. I have an Instagram with the same handle and post 49ers stuff there too. Twitter, it's actually Kalen's Take. My actual name's Kalen, so hence that. But check me out there. Really how I came to start doing YouTube. I started it during the early part of last season, and it's something that I wanted to do for a while. And it just kind of eventually things came together where I had free time and had money to get a decent a setup, like a webcam and that kind of thing. So it's been super fun. It's been met a whole bunch of people. And I love talking 49er football, so I can't get enough of it. So, that's why I'm stoked to meet people like yourself on here, Jay. And it's cool to see that I'd never really thought about before I did it, just how many people are out there, big Niner fans, talk football. So it's awesome. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, man. And like we said before, the show started, you connect with other 49er content creators. It's like you're building a community. And I know I started during the pandemic. I had all this time on my hands, and my wife got tired of me talking about the Niners. She was like, you need to talk to somebody else about that. So I was like, hey, let's talk to some strangers on the internet and start a YouTube channel and talk about the Niners. So I wish I had started a lot sooner, but the season is right around the corner. Training camp is a few days away. And man, I'm so glad to be talking about the Niners tonight. And it's so cool to connect with different content creators, no matter if you're a Niners fan or a fan of the NFL team. It's so cool to link up and talk our love, which is football. Gotta say, what's good to the people in the comment section. We got John Brooks in the building. I appreciate that, man. He says, make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Appreciate it. Also, check out Shifty. All his social media links are in the description of this video. His IG, Twitter, and YouTube. Check him out. Support him. John Brooks, we will get into this for sure. He says, and hey, bro, I'm with you on this Jimmy G trade. The Niners should have taken that 2nd and 5th for Jimmy. That's a steal. It's a great deal. I don't know why Lynch didn't take that deal if it's legit. We're definitely going to talk about that in a few. John Brooks, I appreciate your contributions tonight. We also have Roberto in the building. What's good? How you doing tonight, Roberto? We also have a fellow content creator. We got CarCast in the building. He also says, "What's up, Shifty? How's it going?" And let's get into it. Let's do a little bit of role play. I'm gonna do this. You are GM John Lynch of the 49ers, and I am the Atlanta Falcons GM Terry Fontenot. So I'm calling you right now. Ring, ring,
yellow,
ring. Hey, John Lynch, what's going on, man? This is Terry, the Falcons GM. How you doing today?
Oh, I am good, man. I am rocking and rolling.
Hey, man, I'm calling you about, your 2-time NFC Championship appearance, 1-time Super Bowl appearance, Jimmy G. I'm calling about Jimmy G, man. How about we offer you, and first, he still is on the trade block, correct?
Oh, he is. He certainly is.
All right. So how about we offer you a 2nd and a 5th round pick? And
done.
Hold on. And the 49ers pick up $20 million of his salary.
Ooh, actually, we're not done. We're gonna backtrack a little bit.
Okay. Let's just say if that number was 10 million, would you be interested in trading Jimmy G? But you have to pay $10 million of his salary this year.
For a 2nd and a 5th, I probably would. Okay. I would do that for a 2nd and a 5th.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there was a report about that, about Jimmy G. There was also a report that there were 5 other teams that were interested in Jimmy G. I have it listed below: the Dolphins, the Lions, the Texans, of course, the Falcons, and the Seahawks. I think least likely would be the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think we're going to trade Jimmy G in the division. I'm sure there are a lot of fans who would love to see Jimmy G, right? Because he'd be throwing a lot of interceptions to Fred Warner, right? I mean, but I think that would be your least likely would be the Seattle Seahawks, at least in a trade. But the Falcons, you look at the Falcons depth chart, they have Marcus Mariota. He really didn't live up to expectations with Tennessee. He struggled with accuracy. He struggled to really stay healthy. He was the backup quarterback for the Raiders the last few years. So it's not like they have they're entrenched. They 100% believe in Marcus Mariota. So that could be an option. But if this was really a legit offer, I think Jimmy would have been gone by now, unless they said, hey, you got to take on $20 million of Jimmy G's salary, the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean,
is there a team there that you think would be a better fit for Jimmy?
I really don't. Well, to start off, I don't think that Falcons thing was legit at all. Okay. I mean, I don't know why the Falcons would do that, because looking at it, their head coach used to be the offensive coordinator in Tennessee, I think, when Mariota was there. But not only that, look, they drafted a young guy, Desmond Ridder. So maybe they'll be like, this year, we'll roll with Mariota for 10, 15 games. If he's not great, give Ridder a couple of games. Like, they're not a good team, Atlanta. I mean, they just don't really have a lot of guys left on their team anymore. So I think they'll probably be picking in the top 5 regardless. But if I'm Atlanta, I say roll with Mariota. He can maybe teach Ridder a few things, being a professional and all that good stuff. And then get Ridder maybe 3-4 games, see what you got him. If you feel like he's not going to be the guy, then draft someone. But I guess to answer your question on where Garoppolo, I mean, we're kind of waiting on Cleveland. What's going to happen with Watson, we'll see.
Right.
Beyond that, it gets really interesting, because so there is something that's a little bit different with like the Baker trade than with Garoppolo, because I think Baker's still on his rookie deal, so he actually can't restructure his deal. So like Cleveland couldn't be like, hey, we'll restructure. Jimmy actually could. So for example, let's say if we traded him to, let's say, the Giants, I know that was floating out for a while. They could maybe do like be like, hey, Jimmy, let's do a 2-year $20 million deal. And if they don't believe in Daniel Jones, they have Garoppolo for a couple of years, draft some young guy. But I don't know, man. I've been all offseason, I've been guessing where he's going to go, and I've been wrong every time. So I just don't know where he's going to end up.
I know it's crazy to think that we are three days away from training camp, and Jimmy G is still on the roster. Like that's we were all saying the last 3 to 4 months. Oh, it's only it's a matter of days now when Jimmy G will leave. But he got the shoulder surgery in the offseason, and that drastically affected his trade market. And now I mean, I see that there are 5 teams that could be interested, but what's real interest? Just giving a call, or have they made an offer? I don't think Jimmy G will be in training camp. I don't think so at all. I'm going to ask you that, but first, let me say what's good. We have Eric in the building. We also have Spynick Danger, who says go Niners, and also says let's go Faithful. We have Faithful to the Bay in the building as well. What's good? Damian Lee as well. Thanks for tuning in to the stream tonight. Appreciate everyone tuning in to the stream. We also have another 49er content creator and Niner Sickness. What's good? Hope all is well, Niner Sickness. Thanks for tuning in to the stream. Do you think Jimmy G will be at training camp and be a full participant?
He won't be a full participant, that's for sure. I think he could be there, like physically he'll be there. Maybe he's, tossing the football on the sideline, but beyond that, I just don't think they can risk him possibly getting hurt. Then we're on the hook for, if we cut him, I think we will owe him like $7-8 million and we'll get nothing for it. So ultimately, I think what's going to happen is, we'll keep him around. The grand scheme of things, if I'm John Lynch, what I'm doing, I'm going to keep Jimmy for most of training camp and preseason, and I don't really ever want anyone to get hurt. But I think John Lynch is kind of crossing his fingers thinking maybe some team, their quarterback goes down hurt in preseason or in training camp. And then there's a team that's like, oh, damn, we need a quarterback. Bam, here's Garoppolo. So ultimately, I think when it comes to week 1, if we haven't traded him, we'll just cut him just before the Chicago game, which is crazy because that's his hometown. So, but yeah.
I agree with you. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. It seems like the 49ers would kind of owe it to themselves to, showcase Jimmy. And I know that kind of sounds crazy. We've seen him over the past, I guess technically 2 out of the last 4 seasons, because I guess you could say 2.5. I mean, but, we haven't really seen him. Maybe other teams haven't really seen him. Unfortunately, he got the shoulder surgery. I know Drew Brees had the shoulder surgery, and it's funny because Miami, I remember that offseason, Miami, I think they brought him in for a workout. Miami's doctors didn't clear Drew Brees, and then Drew Brees went to New Orleans, and their doctors cleared Drew Brees, and the rest is history. Drew Brees brings the Super Bowl to the Saints. So, obviously, team doctors, let's say Detroit Lions, I know they were rumored to be in it. The Detroit Lions were interested in Jimmy. They would want to bring him in, have their doctor look at his shoulder, have him actually work out. And I don't even know if that's really possible because Jimmy's not a free agent. So Jimmy still being on the Niners roster, I don't think a team can really do that. I think the 49ers kind of have to showcase him. And I agree with your point that that's like a worst case scenario. Jimmy is practicing, he gets hurt. Now the Niners are on the hook for that, $24 million salary. But I think the Niners kind of have to showcase Jimmy to show that, hey, he can still throw. And I know 49ers fans, the faithful, there's some people who still want Jimmy G to be the starter. There are other fans who are tired of Jimmy, 2 years ago, right? But other fan bases, they don't know what we know. They don't have Jimmy fatigue yet. So I think Jimmy G is going to have to showcase, whether it be his agent Don Yee just recording Jimmy throwing, which we haven't seen, but supposedly Jimmy's been throwing the past 2 weeks. But I agree with your overall point. I don't think the Niners should allow him to come to camp. If they do, it'll just be him on the side, stretching, running, just light throwing, but not necessarily any team activities. I think that would be in the Niners' best interest. Quick question for you. Is there any way you would want Jimmy G to be the 49ers backup quarterback this season? First, your opinion, and then what you think Kyle Shanahan would do.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I have like thought about this. I think on paper it sounds like a good idea. Let's say if we were to be like, "Hey Jimmy, let's restructure your deal. You come in, be the backup. Maybe instead of 25, he's getting 10 million." Because I don't think there's no way, regardless of whatever happens, he's not making $25 million this year. Not
Right.
with the Niners, not with any other team. So, and I think they would recognize that too. So I think on paper, yes, we would be a better team if Garoppolo is the backup as opposed to Nate Sudfeld, who we don't really know anything about him. We've never really seen him play.
Right.
Um, on paper, yes, but then I think there's so much more behind the scenes, like in the locker room, day in and day out. Let's just say, for example, if Trey Lance does have a game or two where he struggles, I think he's going to be really good. But let's just say if he struggles, maybe some of the guys are like the veteran guys, Trent Williams or whoever, getting a little bit older. They're like, let's get Garoppolo back in there. And then it's just a whole mess. So I think ultimately on paper, it sounds good. It could sound good to bring him back, but
Yeah.
I just think you have to cut ties. I think it's, move on to Trey Lance and do what you got to do.
Yeah, there's no doubt that if Jimmy G is the backup, this team is better. But as far as emotionally and psychologically for Trey Lance, it's not the best decision, that's for sure. Trey Lance doesn't need to be worried about Jimmy G, behind him, and worrying about him losing his job. If Trey Lance struggles, obviously the fans would say, some fans would say, "Hey, let's put Jimmy G in." And other fans would say, no, we should give Trey Lance the same amount of time that we gave Jimmy G, right? And I don't think Kyle Shanahan will be influenced by the fans, but when you're a fan, you're a content creator, you hear everything. And it sounds a lot louder than I'm sure what it sounds like to Kyle Shanahan. But I agree. I don't think there's any way Jimmy G would restructure his contract to stay here. He mentioned last year he wouldn't wish this situation on his worst enemy. And, look past the amount of money he made with the 49ers. Obviously, that's a great situation. But yeah, I mean, no one wants to have to train their replacement and basically say, hey, you're not good enough to do the job. So we're bringing in someone who we think or hope is going to be better. So yeah, I don't think there's any way Jimmy G would want to be the backup quarterback here. And hopefully this situation gets resolved, sooner than later. I gotta say, what's up to the Remilia Sports Report? What's good? All respect to the Remilia Sports Report, man. I know the Rams are riding high this offseason. I have to admit, though, that Super Bowl ring, that was one of the ugliest rings I ever seen in my life. But that doesn't take away from your Super Bowl championship. So, man, all respect to you, man. I would be gloating as much as you are, man. Appreciate the love, Niner Sickness. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate that. Spy Nick Danger says, let's trade Jimmy, sign Debo, and Trey going as QB number one, man. Hey, man, I completely agree with you in that order. And let's talk about number 19. Debo was all pro last year. One of the best wide receiver seasons. If it wasn't for Cooper Kupp, he could have probably would have won, maybe like a offensive player of the year or best wide receiver of the year or whatever. Debo Samuel has had an interesting offseason. What do you think? Because I haven't heard you talk about Debo post Super Bowl till now. What do you think about his antics? Is that something that you would recommend for other players in the NFL to do? Kind of like Kyler Murray, kind of worked out for him. But what are your thoughts on Debo post Super Bowl till now? And do you think the 49ers should sign him long term after this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely should sign him long term. I mean, just as a player, he is just so good. You can't not sign him long term. How the whole thing's gone down, I've tried to kind of stay out of it because, I mean, it's for sure like fun to speculate on it and to talk about it, but we don't really know what's going on. Like, there were things where like Debo's brother said there's no way he's going back, and then just recently his trainer says he's about to get paid, and you don't really know what's going on. Like, I think really the only people who know what's going on are Debo, his agent, John Lynch, and maybe Kyle Shanahan. That's probably it. Overall, man, I mean, how well he handled it. We see sometimes it works out. Like we saw with Kyler Murray, he just got crazy money and he
Yeah.
clearly wasn't happy. We see sometimes when it doesn't work out, like Le'Veon Bell, when he sat out with the Steelers, basically just sat out the whole year. And then, ended up getting a big deal with the Jets, I think, but then his career kind of went downhill after that. But overall, it's hard to say if it's the right or wrong way to go about it. We'll see. I mean, but if I'm the Niners, if I can, you have to sign him long term. I mean, he's just too damn good. Like what he does on the field, it's just insane. Like the amount of games last year that you could even argue that Debo was the reason why we won that game. Man, yeah, it's fun just to go back and watch his highlights. It's crazy now. Like he's just how good he is. I do think that we're for sure going to scale him back though in terms of running. I was looking at it, like we ran like 60 times in the regular season. I think that we probably scale that back to maybe 30 or so. Yeah, if we can get him to stay long term, absolutely. He's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there's no mistake about it. His productivity this year was off the charts, especially after starting the season 3-5. Kyle Shanahan really put the ball in his hands, Deebo Samuel's hands. Any means necessary, man. As you mentioned it, he ran the ball a lot in the last 8 games of the season, and he was the catalyst for this team to get to the playoffs and have a long playoff run. I didn't like his antics because it just left a sour taste in my mouth, really. Fred Warner didn't do this. George Kittle didn't do this. Trent Williams didn't do this. And obviously every guy is different. Every guy has his own agent. Every guy's financial situation is different. I think Deebo Samuel got bad advice from his agent. And hey, let's make a ruckus. Let's try to get the most money we can get. And I totally understand that. And I hope Deebo gets everything that he deserves. He should get as much money as he can. I just wish he didn't have those antics. But obviously, when he's scoring touchdowns, he's catching passes, he's running the ball, not as much. All that will kind of be forgotten. But yeah, there's no doubt the Niners should keep Deebo Samuel. We should try to extend him this offseason as soon as possible. I don't think the Jimmy G money is really affecting that right now. I think they're just trying to agree on a number for Deebo Samuel. And as you mentioned, we got reinforcements. So Deebo doesn't need to run the ball. We drafted TDP, Trey Sermon. He's looking good in off-season workouts. So, let's see what those guys do. Hopefully Elijah Mitchell can, he was healthy for 11 games. Hopefully he can at least give us 13 to 14 games. But yeah, there's no doubt Deebo Samuel. But you bring up a great question though. Will Deebo Samuel be as productive as he was last year? I say no. What do you say? Do you think he'll be as productive?
I don't think so. Simply because I think we're going to see a lot more Brandon Ayuk. I think we're going to see Jawan Jennings be a lot more involved. We'll see what happens with Ray McLeod. We'll see what happens with Danny Gray. I think a lot of those like deep passes are going to go to Danny Gray. He's got that lightning speed. I think kind of going back real quick though to Deebo, when the whole thing kind of surfaced where he was like, I kind of want out. Yeah. I was just kind of stunned because if you think about it, we drafted him in 2019. He's been in the league for 3 years. He's been to a Super Bowl. We almost won it. He's been to an NFC Championship game. The Niners were not afraid to pay our players. Like we paid Williams, Kittle, Warner, all these guys. So the whole thing was just confusing. I was just like, it really kind of blindsided. I was like, what? Why would he want to leave? I mean, we've helped. I mean, he's put in obviously so much hard work himself, but we've helped develop him into being maybe the best weapon in football on offense. And he's seen a lot of success in San Francisco in a very short time. So I was just a bit confused. But ultimately, to answer your question, yeah, I think his production will probably go down a little bit. But I think that the reason why is not because he's not going to be as good or anything like that. I just think that we're going to run the ball less with him. And then we're probably going to sprinkle or have some new wrinkles in the offense. But I just think Ayuk could be the one, in my opinion, who goes for like 1,500 yards. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how you can come to that because Trey Lance should be able to throw the ball deep, and that defense will actually have to honor, a large portion of the field. Besides when Jimmy G was there, when they only had to really guard, from the line of scrimmage to the 10-yard line, because that was the knock on Jimmy. He just didn't throw the ball deep. He didn't really scare any defenses, but with number 5 under center, I think all that's going to change. And I just can't wait to see that. Now, just quickly on Debo, his agent, I believe, also is the agent for AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, and Terry McLaurin. And 2 out of those 3 guys got paydays. I don't think DK Metcalf has gotten re-signed yet. But it's crazy. You have those 4 wide receivers, they've all been prolific in their own right. And now they're coming up on their last year of their deal. 2 out of the 4 get contract extensions. So I think it was like, hey, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So you might as well make some noise and make the 49ers know you mean business. And that's from a fan perspective, it's the tough part of you see the guy on the field, you love what he does, but then the other side is the business side, and the Niners are going to try to sign Debo for at least the amount they can, and Debo Samuel's going to try to get the most he can, and hopefully the 2 sides can come, to a middle ground. So, also have Aiden in the building. What's good? Aiden is a Seattle Seahawks content creator. We also did a collab, I believe, last year, man. Hopefully your summer's going well. I know you're excited for training camp. We also have another Seattle Seahawks fan in here, Eric. He says, even though I may be a Seahawks guy, I got mad respect for Trey Lance, man. I appreciate that. Also got Crazy Juice in the building. I know he's on John Jay's YouTube channel, man. Salute to you. Also got KD. What's good? Appreciate you coming into the stream tonight, KD. Hope all is well. So, got to talk about. Let's change it up a little bit. We talked about Jimmy. We talked about Debo. Let's get a perspective from you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this next topic. This is something I just wanted to throw out there, and then we'll get back to probably training camp stuff. But in your opinion, who are the top 5 49er quarterbacks of the last 40 years? And I have to admit, I heard this question on a few other YouTube channels, but I thought it's very interesting, especially when you get to, of course, after Joe and Steve, then I'm looking forward to debate. So let's see what you got. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks of the last 40 years? And we're talking about 49er quarterbacks, of course.
That's this is a damn good question. So yeah, the first 2 answers, Montana, Young. I think we're all fairly happy with that. After that, I think it really comes down to what I guess the criteria for what people consider the best, 49ers quarterback. For me, I'm going to say Jeff Garcia is number 3. Here's the reason why. So 3 years in a row, he was a Pro Bowler, 2000, 2001, 2002. Back when the Pro Bowl kind of meant more than it does now. Now it's kind of like half the guys don't even want to go. Not only that, he put up big numbers. I looked at it just there, and he was like 80, like in those 3 years combined, like 83 or 4 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, ran for a bunch of touchdowns. We won more games than we lost. He also had that big playoff moment where, like, against the Giants, we come back, him and T.O. just, hooking up. But there's 3 years in a row where, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who's a Giants fan, so it was even better. But, but 3 years in a row, Garcia was really, really good. After that, number 4, I'm going to go Kaepernick. The reason why I say Kaepernick is because Kaepernick at his peak, when he's on form on his day, man, he was just almost unstoppable. I think about, and Kaepernick performed on big stages, at the end of the Super Bowl, that last drive could have gone differently. But, you think about it, like that game, Sunday Night Football at New England, when we go into New England, Belichick, Brady at the height of their powers, and we beat them. Kaepernick was great that game. In the playoffs against Green Bay, where he just ran for 170 something yards. Kaepernick on his day could beat anybody. If he was feeling it, he could beat anybody. So I think in just talent wise, he's number 4. Number 5, it comes down. It's either Alex Smith or Garoppolo. I'm gonna go Alex Smith. So
Whoa.
yeah. Uh, so here's the thing. Here's why I'm going Alex Smith.
Okay.
Okay, so his first 5 or 6 years in the league with the Niners were awful. They were not good. When you look at the numbers, they were not good at all. Terrible situation. Mike Nolan, not a good head coach. Different offensive coordinators every year. Mike Singletary, not a great head coach. But when Harbaugh came in, Alex Smith finally has a good head coach. What happens? The first year we go to the NFC Championship game, and because of a couple of fumbles, we don't make the Super Bowl. And then if you think about it, Alex Smith had that big playoff game against the Saints. That final drive hits Vernon Davis. Awesome. You look at Garoppolo, of course, we went to the Super Bowl. We almost won with Garoppolo. Last year, NFC Championship game. But when I just kind of look at both of these guys as players, I think Alex Smith throws a better deep ball. Alex Smith, more athletic. Alex Smith is not – here's the big thing that separates them to me is that Alex Smith, I don't think, is going to lose you a game. Jimmy Garoppolo can lose you a game. He can, Jimmy Garoppolo has some good qualities, super lightning quick release. He can have he's had big clutch moments. But Alex Smith, I think if we had Alex Smith in these playoffs, like Alex Smith around like 2012, obviously not Alex Smith right now, I think we would have destroyed the Cowboys. Like, think about it. That Cowboy game in the playoffs that just passed.
Yeah.
Garoppolo, that, fourth quarter interception was just, what was that? The game at Green Bay, Garoppolo throws that crazy interception in the red zone as we're driving down. Alex Smith doesn't do that. So I think I would personally, if it was like, hey, you have one game, you got to win it. And if I have a great defense, which both guys had, Garoppolo's had a great defense here. Alex Smith, back when we had Willis and Bowman and Justin Smith and all those guys. If you have a great defense, if you have a good running game, to me, I'm choosing Alex Smith. That's just me.
Hey, man. I totally respect your opinion. I gotta say, what's good to Libby's World? Hopefully you're having an excellent Sunday. And yeah, John Brooks on that trade or that possible trade. We don't even know if that's a legit offer, but we'll see what happens in the next few days. But I gotta say, in regards to this question, for me, I think we're going to judge these, obviously past Joe and Steve. I think we're going to judge the 3 to 4 quarterbacks on their peak years. And for me, I think Kaepernick was probably the most exciting to watch. If we're talking about Garcia, Cap, Jimmy, and Alex, he beat the Patriots. He beat the Packers on the road. He had a lot of memorable games. And obviously these 4 quarterbacks, their peak was very short, right? But I think Kaepernick, we hadn't really seen a quarterback do that. We saw Jeff Garcia do that. And honestly, I think Jeff Garcia was probably the better passer, but Jeff Garcia also had Hall of Famer Terrell Owens. I mean, so you kind of gotta, it's not, every scenario is different, but there's no doubt Jeff Garcia, he was electrifying to watch as well. For me, I would probably put Cap 3, probably put Garcia 4, and then of course it's between Alex Smith and Jimmy G. And Alex Smith last year, you mentioned he got a head coach, and he had 4 pretty good years with the Kansas City Chiefs. His last year with the Chiefs, I think he put up like 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he's definitely proven to be a more prolific passer than Jimmy G. But if you look at Alex Smith, and you can't just ignore the seasons where, I mean, some of his seasons, it was like 13 touchdowns, 7, like it was, that's some ugly stuff for 2022, man, as a starting quarterback. And I'm going to give the edge to Jimmy. And the reason I give it to Jimmy is he didn't throw us to the Super Bowl. He didn't throw us to the NFC Championship game, but I think he played a part. Sometimes he allowed other teams to stay in the game. There's no doubt about that. But I think Jimmy, when he was traded here, we were a franchise that was in disarray. Chip Kelly, Jim Tomsula. Those were some lean years with the 49ers, man. And when Jimmy was healthy, 2 out of 4 years, we were a relevant team. When he wasn't healthy, we weren't even sniffing the playoffs. So I'm going to give the edge to Jimmy. I know Alex Smith. He had that great moment against the Saints. I think that was an NFC wild card game at Candlestick, I believe. So he had that great moment. That's probably when I think of Alex Smith, that's what I think of. Jimmy G, he doesn't really have a signature moment. I know he has some good regular season games, like against New Orleans, a few games against Arizona. I'm going to give a slight edge to Jimmy, but let's be real. If one of those guys is our quarterback, it leaves a little bit to be desired, man. Like,
yeah, so, I agree. I think, I'm curious. I'm really curious to see, let's say in like 2 or 3 years time, it's like, will Trey Lance be in the top 5? Will he for sure be above them? I think for sure he has the potential. Yeah. We got a great team. So great coaching too. That's like the other thing as well, that, when you factor in some of these things where like towards the end with Kaepernick, like Jim Tomsula, I can't even, who was the offensive coordinator that year? I don't even remember.
Wasn't it like Jimmy Ray or something like that?
Just like,
yeah. And Alex Smith, I think he had a different offensive coordinator like every year. He also had the shoulder surgery. And then, the Niners, we didn't really have that great teams. I know we had Vernon Davis, we had Frank Gore, but there were some lean years. Alex Smith didn't really hit his stride until he got, head coach in Harbaugh. So you got to take that into consideration as well. I think Alex Smith head coach, I think it was Mariucci, right? Or did Mariucci?
Garcia
was still there. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, Mariucci, and then I think Garcia's last year was 2003, and that was
Dennis Erickson yet?
Which was just
college coach. Didn't really work out. Yeah, so I got to get this super chat. Appreciate that $10 super chat from Luke Luna. Hot diggity dog. Double L says, "Hey brother, I'm glad I finally caught you. Just wanted to send this through to let you know you still have my support and love, fam. Keep grinding." I appreciate that, man. Appreciate that very, very much, man. I appreciate your continued support. And hopefully, man, you're enjoying the show. So that was an interesting conversation, man. And I agree with your points. Now let's talk about the 49ers training camp battle. So training camp is coming up in a few days. And I wrote down a list of positions that I think will be an intriguing camp battles. In your opinion, out of those positions, or if you have a position that's not listed, which one is the most intriguing to you out of those positions?
It's a tough list because, I'm still doing like a bit of a series talking about this as well on my channel. But, when I've started kind of looking at this, I realized just how deep this roster is, because you think about it like, I look at the positions you have listed, like running back, there's like 5-6 guys who could make the roster. Edge, we have 5-6 guys. Safety, I think to me, safety is interesting because I have high hopes for Hufanga. I think he showed some decent stuff as a rookie. What's really telling to me, though, is the fact that we clearly had no interest in bringing back Jaquiski Tartt. Now, I think compared to more like a lot of Niner fans, I liked him a lot more than most Niner fans. Was he ever going to be a Pro Bowler? No, but he was a guy who was kind of right place at the right time.
Right.
Doesn't always catch the ball when he should, but I think they clearly see there's potential elsewhere. I think the George Odom pickup, pretty solid pickup, great special teamer, and he played some safety. So that's interesting. I think what's probably, though, most important for the team is going to be what's going to happen with the interior offensive line. So, it sounds for right now anyways that Aaron Banks is that left guard. Jake Brendel, is he going to be the center? And then Brunskill, maybe, we know Brunskill's kind of been at right guard for a couple of years now. So I think if they want to keep him there, it makes sense. However, let's just say, right, because training camp hasn't happened yet, but when the pads come on and we're playing preseason games, if you have a guy, let's say like Jalen Moore, right, he showed some things last year. If he comes in and if he is just dominant, right, in training camp and in preseason, what do you do with Jalen Moore? I mean, maybe you move Jalen Moore and have him start at right guard. We know Brunskill can play center.
Right.
Plus, Shanahan kind of what he usually looks for is that center who's like been around the league. You know, we signed Weston Richburg, Alex Mack. So maybe he'll lean towards a Brunskill at center. So it's I just that's why I'm really intrigued by it. I don't know what's going to happen. But to me, that's going to be the most interesting thing. And of course, we know just how important it is for Trey Lance to have that good blocking up front. We know Trent Williams, best left tackle in football, easy, lock it in. I think it sounds like McGlinchey. I think he's been on a couple of shows lately. He sounds like he's for sure going to be ready to go week one. And hopefully he can at least be as good as he's been before, if not better. He's in a contract year, so there we go. But yeah, what happens with the other three positions, we'll see. You know, to me, that's the most intriguing one.
I agree with you. This is the first time in a while where we have a lot of depth at multiple positions along this team on both sides of the ball. And training camp is finally here, and we'll see how it plays out. Gotta say, what's good to David McNew? He says, just say no to Jimmy G. That's not the first time I've heard that. Also got Cincinnati crew in the building. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in tonight. Yeah, there's no doubt the interior of the offensive line will be a huge battle. The 49ers have made significant additions to the offensive line. You look at Aaron Banks last year, second round pick. Some would say that's a reach, but we'll see what happens in training camp. Also, Lincoln Tomlinson, Pro Bowl worthy guard. He leaves, takes the big money from the New York Jets. I don't think anyone's really blaming him. Also, Alex Mack retires. I would say I wasn't shocked because he forfeited a workout bonus, and I know he's made millions, but he just said, hey, I don't need that $250,000. Usually most people wouldn't do that, right? So you got to figure the 49ers had a plan to address the center position. I think that was Jake Brindle. We also picked up UDFA Donovan West. He could be we'll see if he makes the 53-man roster. I'll be surprised by that, but we will talk about that a little bit later. But outside of the offensive line, I would say I think corner is going to be a position where I think this is the first time, at least I can say, in the Shanahan era that the 49ers have a plethora of cornerbacks, young and veterans mixed together. Last year we were depending on often injured Jason Verrett, a guy who he's only played double-digit games in 2 out of 7 seasons. Also, we picked up Josh Norman. I mean, he was starting for us. He had that peanut punch, but when that wasn't working, he was penalizing the team with defensive pass interferences and all that. So, I think Charvarius Ward was a great pickup. Picking him up in free agency. He's played a lot of big games with the Kansas City Chiefs. We know how successful they've been in the last few years. I think, you kind of got to pencil in him and Emmanuel Mosley being the starters. And then we'll see what happens at that nickel corner spot. Ambry Thomas came on late last year. He started to play pretty well. You still got Demo Lenore. You got Darqueze Dennard, who was brought back. I think he played only in December for us, I believe. Like, he was a really, really late addition. And then you look at Samuel Womack, you look at Tariq Castro-Fields. So we just have an influx of youth, and you still got Dante Johnson. He could play the safety. He could play the corner. So I'm looking at the cornerback position. And you could literally go to a lot of different positions. I think a lot of positions could be up for grabs, and that's what's got me so excited about training camp. This season, because I don't think we really had these many question marks in past seasons. I don't believe so.
Totally.
Gotta say, hot diggity dog. Appreciate that $5 super chat, KD. He says, Jay and the Bay, you have fun Sunday, August 7th. I wish I could have been there, but I waited too late. It sold out. Yeah, I know. And KD is talking about the training camp tickets, and I believe it was a season ticket holder. They got the first dibs at the training camp tickets. And unfortunately, the Dwight Clark Day, August 7th, is sold out right now. But hopefully they replenish the tickets, because I mean that's going to be at Levi Stadium. You got to figure, they could hold what 40, 50,000 people in that thing. So hopefully they add some more tickets, maybe tomorrow. I'm constantly looking back daily up until that day, because I want to go. I was able to go last year. Very fortunate to go last year. Have you been to any of the training camps, Shifty?
I haven't been in a while. So I'll tell you, actually, the last one, it was pretty interesting. I haven't been since Chip Kelly was the head coach.
Oh, wow.
But interestingly enough, that one that I went to it was actually, they held a training camp session at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco. And it was pretty cool, because I used to live right by there. Like, I could walk to Kezar in like 15 minutes.
Nice.
And I walked over there. I didn't have any tickets or nothing, but I had like my Niner jersey on, and I was like looking in, and this random 49er fan came up and was like, "Hey man, like, do you want to get in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do." And he's like, "Well, I'm a season ticket holder." He's like, "I got my 2 family members here, but we have an extra ticket if you want to come in." And I was like, "Hell yeah, sweet." I was like, "Let me go buy you a drink, appreciate that." But that's the last time that I went to a training camp session. It was pretty cool, got to get up close to see the players.
Right.
I'd be totally down to check out a training camp session for sure, and go to a game. I'd like to try and go to one game a year. So
yeah. Do you have an idea what game you're going to this year?
Ooh, it's tough, because like the prices are just like up and down. You just depending on the game. I think what would be a great game to go to would be, I mean, there's a ton of them. Like, there's so many good games this year, but maybe Tom Brady coming back with the Buccaneers. I know that Brady came back. I think it was actually the year that it was either Chip Kelly or Tom Sula, but that Niner team was, yeah. But this is going to be a battle, so that will be a good one. But this schedule is just full of great games. So I don't know. We'll see.
I was thinking that. I swear to you, I was thinking, oh, maybe I wonder if he'll mention that Tom Brady coming to Santa Clara. That would be a great game to attend. Gotta say, what's good? And a hot diggity dog. I appreciate that $10 super chat. Blue True says, what's good at Jay in the Bay and at Shifty, Luke Luna and Corey Davis and 49er fam. You guys rock. Appreciate that. Appreciate that positivity. I love that, Blue True. Appreciate that. And so we talked a little bit about the training camp battles. Quick question. Which running back do you think is on will have the most difficult in trying to make the 53-man roster? Obviously, you got Elijah Mitchell. He was the best running back outside of Debo last year. Trey Sermon didn't really get his footing, got hurt, fell out of favor with the team last year. We picked up TDP. Jermichael Hasty is kind of like your scat back, your third down back. Jeff Wilson Jr. Kind of fell out of favor with Shanahan last year. And then also you got Jordan Mason, a UDFA. Which player do you think will have the most difficulty in making the roster?
I mean, I would say right now, anyways, it's probably Jordan Mason. I know a lot of people immediately kind of point to, well, Matt Breida made the roster, but I think Matt Breida that year brought something that we didn't have. Like at the 2017, Carlos Hyde, I think, was our main running back. So Breida was like the speedy guy who could just break one. We didn't have that running back before. So when I look at, Jordan Mason, we have guys who are similar size, similar speed. So I think he's going to find it pretty tough. But right now, because I think we usually keep 4 running backs, and then we'll also have Juszczyk. The 4 running backs for me right now would be Elijah Mitchell, of course. Then I would say after that, for running, it would be between TDP and Jeff Wilson. But I think Hasty for right now would be there above Sermon. The reason why is that Hasty is actually one of the only running backs who can catch the friggin' ball. So looking at his numbers, I think I just put out a video. I think it was like a couple of days ago or yesterday. I can't remember. But where Hasty had like almost more catches than every other running back on our roster combined. So,
Wow.
and if you notice, like there was a lot of plays on third down. I think about like both games against the Rams, week 18, and then in the NFC Championship game. But on third down, who was the running back out there? It was Hasty was out there a lot. So I think Shanahan obviously has some trust in him. But to me, what I think the Niners might do, assuming everyone stays healthy, hopefully, I think if it gets towards, I think we're going to see a lot of Trey Sermon in the preseason. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Niners might try and shop him to another team.
Wow.
That's just a kind of throwing it out there.
Shanahan has had okay luck with drafting running backs. He kind of hit a grand slam, especially at value with getting Elijah Mitchell in the 6th round last year. But he did draft, I believe it was what was his name? Joe, I forgot his last name,
Williams.
but I think Joe Williams. Yeah, that didn't work out. I believe he was like a 3rd round pick. And then you get Trey Sermon, and yeah, it just seems like he fell out of favor last year. I know he got hurt early. He's posted some offseason workout videos. He's looking good. I believe in meritocracy, but we've seen that Shanahan will give guys, the bit of a benefit of the doubt, especially if they were drafted by this team. You look at Jalen Hurd. He stayed on this roster far too long. Never played a game, never played a regular season game. Took up a roster spot last year. And then I think Trey Sermon will give the benefit of the doubt. I think he will. I mean, I just don't see them. I mean, it's possible they could put him on the practice squad. They could do that, but I just don't think there's any way they would cut him at this point. And we know, unfortunately, with Shanahan's running backs, they all get hurt. So you're going to have 4 backs, including Juice. I think they'll keep at least one running back on the practice squad like they did last year. And speaking of the practice squad and rosters, let's talk about. Let's do a quick a pre-training camp 53-man roster projection. How does that sound to you?
Let's do it, man. I'm down.
All right. Let me read a few comments first, and then we will hop into that. Got to say what's good to Redder. Appreciate you joining the stream tonight. Hope all is well. Let's see. Cook Sports is in the building. What's good? Appreciate you tuning into the stream, Cook. And I appreciate everyone. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe if you haven't. If you like what you're hearing from Shifty, make sure to check him out on social media. All his social media links are in the description of this video. Make sure you give him a follow, a subscribe. You guys know what to do. Let's see. Crazy Juice says the interior offensive lineman will definitely be, there'll definitely be some serious competition there because technically, I think there's 3 jobs up for grabs. Aaron Banks probably has an advantage, you would think, at that left guard spot, but you never know. I know he was a 2nd round pick, but there's still other players on this roster who they want to eat too. They want to start some games too. So I think those 3 interior positions are really up for grabs. So let's talk about the 52-man roster projections. So the easiest position, let's go with quarterback first. How many quarterbacks do you think the 49ers will carry? And let me know if there'll be one on the practice squad.
I think it'll be 2. It'll be Trey Lance, Nate Sudfeld, and then I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Purdy in somewhere in training camp, maybe the end of it, he gets hurt. So we can basically stash him away. I think ultimately Purdy could be a decent backup. I mean, what I like about him is he's, thrown the football a lot in college. But I would go for right now, I'd go Lance and Sudfeld, but maybe if Purdy impresses, then in preseason and whatnot, maybe he takes the backup spot.
I completely agree with you. I think there's a small, maybe, a 0.25% chance that Jimmy G could be the backup because I think Kyle Shanahan could be so hell-bent on saying, well, we're not giving up Jimmy G. We're not going to cut him. There's no way we're cutting Jimmy G. We'll just keep him as our backup. That could happen. But I agree with you. I think this would be the best case scenario. Sudfeld backing up Trey Lance and also Brock Purdy on the practice squad. I think that's the best scenario. We go to running backs. I think it's going to be Elijah, TDP, Juice, Hasty, and I think it's going to be a battle between Sermon and Wilson for that last spot. I don't think either player really does anything on special teams, so I think it's really going to come down to who's the best runner, and I think Sermon might have a slight edge there, but it doesn't matter. I think, unfortunately, one of these running backs is going to get hurt. That's just the way of the game. And I think one of those guys will be on the practice squad. And I think could look out for Jordan Mason. He could make some headway. I think he will get a lot of carries in preseason. You look at Jordan Mason. I think TDP will probably get the bulk of the carries in the preseason, I would imagine. What do you think about the running back position?
Yeah, I would go Juszczyk, Elijah Mitchell. I would go TDP for sure. After that, I just really like Jeff Wilson Jr., so I would have him. And then I would go for right now, I would go Hasty. And I think we might try and find a suitor for Trey Sermon.
Okay.
But as you said, and it's probably very likely that one of these guys are going to get hurt. So I wouldn't be mad if we brought back Sermon. I'm not trying to knock him as a player or anything.
Yeah.
And the videos, your workout videos look great. But kind of right now, I'm thinking that Hasty brings something to the table that the other guys don't in terms of receiving. Kind of been looking at some of the comments too on the screen, and I know Hasty like dropped a couple of passes or whatever. But I think it speaks volumes that when you look at the NFC Championship game, that last drive, it was Hasty who was out there. I mean, if he was no good and if we didn't value him at all, he wouldn't be out there. That's for sure. So I think I remember, I think it was in week 18, that last drive before overtime when we ultimately hit Jawan Jennings for a touchdown. I know Jimmy hit Hasty, I think, for like a short gain. So there's something to it. But also, okay, so Hasty, and this is something that I was stunned by. So Hasty, yeah, he's shorter. He's 5'8". A lot of our other running backs are about 6 foot, 6'1". But Hasty is like 205 or 210. He was like 205, 210
packs
pounds.
a punch.
He does, he weighs more than Jeff Wilson Jr., believe it or not. So he can pack a punch. So don't count him out. But I would go Hasty. That would be my 5 running backs. Yeah. Hasty, TDP, Wilson, Mitchell, and then Juszczyk.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. And I think Trey Sermon, he will get an opportunity, especially, due to he was a 3rd round pick last year. And I think Shanahan will give him an opportunity. So, but I think either way, whichever 4 we go with, I think we'll have another running back on the practice squad who'll be ready to go when his number is called. Wide receivers, I got the Ayuk show. I got Debo, JJ, Ray, and Danny Gray.
I can't argue with any of that. I'll agree 100% with that. I think the only question might be how many receivers we keep on the roster. Yeah. The beautiful thing though with Ray is the fact that we signed him to, I think he's going to be like the return guy, right. But also he can play receiver. He caught a number of passes last year with Pittsburgh, so that's kind of almost like a 2-for-1.
Right.
I think last year we had Trenton Cannon was doing a lot of the returning, and so he was just the returning special teams guy. But Ray does both, so I think. But what you agree, I spot on. Same.
Tight ends, I think we keep 3, and I think it's going to be Kittle, Warner, and Tyler Kroft. I like the veteran signing of Tyler Kroft. If you look at his career, I believe he almost had a Pro Bowl season a few years ago. I believe it was with Cincinnati. Caught about 70, 80 balls, had about 6 or 8 touchdowns, and he showed what he can do in the receiving game. Now, granted, he hasn't done that recently, but maybe with Trey Lance, I think he could provide a second security blanket outside of George Kittle to be another receiving threat. And I just haven't seen, I know we got Ross Dwelly. I just haven't seen much from him. He doesn't really excite me. Charlie Warner, I think he's a very good blocker, but I'm going out on a limb and I'm saying Tyler Kroft is going to be that 3rd tight end. Hey, maybe he could even push for 2nd string tight end. What say you?
Yeah, I actually I completely agree with you. I think we've seen Ross Dwelly. We know what he can do. Honestly, he'll be on the roster probably till the final cuts,
Right.
and then I think we both kind of now agree that he'll probably end up being cut. I don't know if another team really picks him up. So if
Yeah.
someone does get hurt, I think we could always bring him back. And I totally agree. I think
Okay.
that Tyler Croft signing could be a solid signing. Not that we're going to see a ton of him. I really
Right.
hope that Werner steps up, but I agree with that. I'll go Croft too.
Okay. And how many offensive linemen do you think we keep, and who are the offensive linemen?
So far, I think we have 2 quarterbacks,
Yep.
5 running backs,
Yep. 5
including
receivers.
use check. So that's 7. 3 tight ends. That's 10. I think we have
5 wide
5 receivers. So that's
Yeah.
15.
Yep.
I'd probably go 9 offensive linemen then,
Okay.
maybe 10.
And who do you have as the offensive lineman that make the roster?
Right now starters I think would be Trent Williams,
Okay.
Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, Brunskill, McGlinchey.
Yep.
Behind them, I would have the backup like swing tackle would be McKivitz.
Yep.
I would have Spencer Burford. I'd have Jalen Moore. I think that's 8 I'm
Yes.
at now.
Yeah.
And then I would have. Ooh, right now, it's hard to say. I'm gonna go. Donovan West makes it.
Donovan West. Okay. Yeah, and that's 9. And for me, I had 7 making the active roster. Outside of the starting 5 that you mentioned, the same starting 5, and I have Jalen Moore and Colton McKivitz. Now, I do have Justin School, but I think he'll be possibly practice squad or maybe end up on the PUP list. He did tear his ACL last year. He should be fully recovered, but Justin School, I believe he started or did I think the last game of the season against the Rams, the last regular season game, I think it was either him or Colton McKivitz started in place of Trent Williams. It was one of the two. But I think Justin School should be able to make this roster. And if he doesn't, maybe they'll just stash him on the PUP list. And then he'll be ready by week 8 just to give him more time to develop and rest and recover from that torn ACL. But I have 7 offensive linemen and you have 9.
See, I think you hit the nail on the head with Justin School in that I think he'll be on the PUP list, so he'll miss the first 6 or so weeks. That way we can we won't we won't lose him to another team.
Right.
And then we let him recover and all that stuff. And, and we all know injuries, especially for the 49ers, are part of football. So, yeah, it would be good to have him around after that.
No, absolutely. And just to get some insight, we have David Manu says, I don't think Hasty makes the team. Jeff Wilson Jr. can be our third down running back. He can catch passes and pass protect. And I believe the running backs will be a camp battle to watch out for, but I appreciate your thoughts on that, David McNew. As we go to the defensive line, man, I mean, this is John Lynch's staple. He loves to draft defensive linemen. We've drafted a defensive lineman first in every draft except McGlinchey and Trey Lance. I believe those are the only 2 drafts where we didn't draft a defensive lineman first with our first pick. And we continued that trend this past offseason with getting Drake Jackson with the 2nd round pick. I think on our active roster, and now that I think about it, I think it might be too many, but I think we're keeping 12. 12 defensive linemen on the active roster.
Damn.
Yeah, this may sound crazy, but the 49ers love to have a pass rush where you can bolster the pass rush. You can have multiple players who can play depth positions. I don't think Javon Kinlaw is ready to take on a full slate of regular season games. I think you kind of want to ease him in, but and of course there will be injuries, and one of these players could be on the practice squad. But I've got, of course, Bosa, Drake Jackson, Armstead, Kinlaw, Hassan Ridgeway, Hyder, Givens, Omen Wehu, Hurst, Samson, Jordan Willis, and Toure. Those are my 12 guys.
Damn. 12 guys. I like it. I mean, hey, sometimes you got to think outside the box. I would go 10 guys.
Okay.
So I would go on the interior, I'd go Armstead, Kinlaw, Ridgeway, and then I would go one of Hurst or Givens.
Okay.
So that's 4. Then on the edge, I'd have Bosa, Hyder, Omenahu, Ebukam, Drake Jackson, and either Teray or Willis.
Okay.
I'll go, for the sake of the video and for the sake of having the guys, I will say Teray. And then I will say on the interior, I will go Givens.
Okay. So those are the 2 you leave out of the active roster.
Those are the 2 I would have making it. So
yeah,
Hurst
2 making it.
And Willis won't make it.
Okay.
I think if should any potential injury happen, we bring him right back.
Right. And there's no doubt. I think the 49ers will have at least double-digit guys on the defensive line, including defensive tackle and edge rusher on game day. There's going to be at least 10, I believe. But we'll see how that plays out. Linebackers, who you got?
Oh, I'm gonna go with 5. I'm gonna go with
okay.
We know 3 of them: Warner, Greenlaw, Alshire. Then I'm gonna go Flanagan, Foles, and then we signed Oren Burks.
Yep,
I will go those 5.
Okay, that's the same 5 that I have. DFF, great special teamer. We brought on Oren Burks to be a special teamer as well. We know our special teams were putrid last year. That's why we got a new special teams coordinator. He came over from the Seattle Seahawks. They actually scored a punt return or a punt touchdown against us. So pretty embarrassing, but I'm glad we've made improvements in that area. And that was definitely a point of emphasis this offseason in cleaning up the special teams, because that was, an area that disappointed us. And at one point in the season, I remember Kyle Shanahan was saying, just don't give the game away. Okay. Just don't give it away. Give us a chance, man. Cornerbacks. I think you're going to have more than me, but cornerbacks, here's what I've got. I've got 5. I got Charvarius Ward, Mosley, Ambry Thomas, Demo Lenore. Excuse me, I have 6. Dante Johnson and Darquiz Denard. Those are my 6 making the active roster. I know we've added a lot of guys, UDFA guys, but I think they'll probably be on the practice squad. Now, I did not mention Jason Verrett, but I think he'll begin the season on the PUP list. I think he's coming back from the torn ACL. There's no need to rush him. I would rather see a healthy Jason Verrett for the back half of the season than put him out there week 1 and, hey, he gets hurt again. So I think Jason Verrett will provide some fresh legs. I mean, he's basically the best corner the 49ers have had, I think, in 2 decades. The last 2 decades, I think he's been the best corner we've had. I know we picked up Nate Clements as a free agent years and years ago, but that didn't really work out. But yeah, I would say Jason Verrett, he was damn near all pro in 2019. So definitely looking forward to that. What say you? How many corners you got, and who'd you pick?
Okay, so I'm trying to think because I want to make sure that I end up with the right amount of players. So I think I'm at 39, 3 special teams, 42. So let me see. I will do 7 cornerbacks.
7 corners, okay.
I think you're spot on about Jason Verrett. This is why everybody tune into Jay in the Bay, because he knows what he's talking about. So I think Jason Verrett is going to start as well on the PUP list. And then when he comes back, I think if he starts on the PUP, is it 6 or how many games is it?
I believe you have to miss the first 8 weeks, I believe.
8. Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping that if he does come back, he'd be back for like Kansas City or something like that, but maybe. But anyway, so 7. So I'm going to go Mosley, Charvarius Ward, Ambry Thomas. I would go Darquiz Denard. Is it Denard or Denard? I never know.
Denard. I think it's Denard.
Okay. Yeah. So that's 4. So I have 3 more. I would go, I think Dante Johnson.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go with a couple Samuel Womack.
Okay.
And then I have 1 more. It's really going to come down at that point to Tariq Castro Fields and Demo Lenore. Right now, I'll give the edge to the rookie,
Okay.
Tariq Castro Fields. He played a lot at Penn State. It was really weird last year that Lenore, I think he played a lot against week 1.
Right.
Then he played some week, then he just was disappeared. I don't know
Yeah.
what happened to him. Well, I don't know. Was he hurt? I actually
I,
can't
I
remember.
don't think he was hurt. I think Shanahan just benched him, and they opted to go with Josh Norman.
Yeah.
Shanahan loves his vets. Who was the offensive lineman, the much maligned offensive lineman that the faithful love? He's no longer on the team. He's with the Denver Broncos. Tom Compton. That's who it was. Shanahan loves his vets, man, because I
Yes,
think
he
he knows
does.
what to expect. I think he can trust them to a certain extent, and with the rookie, there's not a lot of familiarity there. So I think that's why Lenore was benched. I would have loved to them. I would rather see Lenore than Josh Norman, but
Yeah,
hey,
agreed, 100%.
right,
You know, yeah, I was just really confused. You know, Shanahan does those things where, like, I mean, we didn't see Brandon Ayuk the first few weeks last year
right,
for whatever
right.
reason, but yeah, in this list, I'll go Tariq Castro Fields, and then, but maybe Lenore can. I mean, Lenore, maybe he can battle back and get a spot on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of competition with the corners outside of the first 3. I mean, maybe Denard could start at that nickel corner, maybe, and then after that, it's kind of up for grabs. Like you mentioned, Samuel Womack, Tariq Castro Fields, Will Lenore. Hey, he's had a full off season to practice with the team, to get more familiar with the scheme. Maybe he ratchets it up another notch and is able to get to a next level in his game. You just really don't know until training camp starts and the pads come on. But that's
So
definitely something.
just before we go to safety,
Yeah,
man, we got to give shout out to Dante Johnson. That guy,
absolutely.
he hangs around, but he in the playoffs, man, against Green Bay, man, when he got hurt in that playoff game just in January, and Josh Norman came in, man, I was freaking out. But Dante Johnson, like, he stepped up big, so shout out to him.
Absolutely, man. I mean, he's had to have been cut from the Niners and signed at least 10 times. I mean, man, he could get cut and sign and cut again and sign again in 1 week. And I think it's because the 49ers know that he's valuable to the Niners, but not necessarily valuable to other teams. And he can play the nickel corner. He can play safety. And I think Dante Johnson brings a lot of value. I think he's gotten better. As long as you don't put him on an island, I wouldn't recommend putting him on an island against, one of the premier wide receivers in the NFL. But I think he brings value to this team because he's versatile. He can play more than one position. David McNew says, I think we keep 11. Bosa, Jackson, Samson, Teray, Omenhue, Hyder, Willis, Kinlaw, Armstead, Gibbons, and Ridgeway. Okay. And Double L says Ridgeway are battling. Hurst, if healthy, is making the squad, and Gibbons to the practice squad. We may even trade him. Gibbons hasn't moved the needle. Hurst was leading camp last year, and I believe Maurice Hurst, he didn't play last year, right? Like, he may have played 2 games last year. He was battling the calf injury.
I think he played a decent amount in preseason.
Okay.
And I don't know if he played in the regular season.
Yeah, because I think he was battling that calf injury, and I don't think he played any. If he did, might have been 1 or 2 games, limited snaps. But hey, let's see what he has, and hopefully his calf is 100% healed after an off season. We go to the safeties now. Dante Johnson, he could play the safety position, but my safeties are Huff, Ward, Odom, and Moore, and I just have 4.
I believe I have 5 to work with.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with the same 4 that you did. So Hufanga, Ward, Odom, Tarvarius Moore, and undrafted free agent Leon O'Neal Jr.
Okay. Hey, okay. I see it. Yeah, there's no doubt he's a hitter. I think he has room to improve as far as covering ground on passing plays and playing the zone coverage, but that's definitely something he can get better at. But yeah, I think our main differences were I picked 12 defensive linemen and 5 corners. And I think I had 10 defensive linemen and 7 corners.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where we differ on. But I think this is a great exercise. Oh, in special teams, of course, Robbie, Mitch, and Tabor, But that rounded out my 53. But yeah, this is a great exercise. It'd be interesting to look back on this video when the 53-man active roster is set and say, okay, this is where we got wrong. This is where we got right. So, but yeah, man, I'm
And
glad
we
to.
are going to be wrong. Like we're going to be
Oh yeah,
wrong because hey, we never like you never know in training camp. Like remember, like think back to 2017 maybe, or like Kendrick Bourne. He made the roster and he
right.
has turned into a really solid receiver. Matt Breida, so that's why training camp is actually it's really a lot of fun because you just
Yeah.
never know who could step up and just kill it.
Yeah. You never know who's going to take that next step. Hell, Donovan West, he could take that next step and he could become the starting center. You just never know.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a great exercise, man. I'm glad to have you on tonight. Make sure if you guys enjoyed the stream, hit that like button and let the people know, Shifty, where they can find you at on social media.
Cool. Yeah. So on YouTube, just search Shifty's 49ers Talk. Been doing a couple of different series now. So one is the training camp like battles. The other one, and I'm going to have the final episode coming out tomorrow night, is going to be my top 20 most valuable players heading into the season. So I have the top 5 coming out tomorrow. Beyond that, Twitter, it's Kalen's Take. And I, tweet on there a little bit. I kind of use them more for just like getting news and stuff. But last but not least, Instagram, Shifty's 49ers Talk. You'll find me there. And yeah, stop by. It's a good time. And man, yeah. And honestly, dude, Jay, really appreciate, you having me on here. Been watching your stuff for a while. I just love that super consistent. You know your stuff and super passionate too. So man, yeah, it's long overdue, but it's great to be here and definitely want to come on another time for sure.
Absolutely, man. There's no doubt it was long overdue. I'm glad our schedules were finally able to link up. We all live busy lives, man, but we come together to talk about our love for the 49ers. And yeah, man, you are very, very knowledgeable. I just can't wait to see training camp, see how these players end up, see who makes the active roster, and then we're on to week 1. So yeah, man, hopefully we can link up again during the regular season. Maybe we could preview a game or react to a game. Those are always fun. And yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Everyone, make sure you check out Shifty's content. All the links are in the description of this video. So, hey, it's been a pleasure, man. And you have a great rest of your night, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. All right. All right. So that was Shifty's 49ers Talk, man. Excellent content creator. I'm looking forward to us linking up again to talk about the 49ers. Training camp is just a few days away. I can't wait for that. Let me know in the comment section. Is anyone planning on attending a training camp practice? I would love to know. And if you guys are enjoying the stream, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe. And I'm looking forward to the next time me and Shifty can link up. That's for sure. David says there are unknowns like injury and whatnot, but we didn't talk about defensive tackle Khalil Davis. I think he gets stashed on the PUP list. I would agree with that. Agree with that as well. Khalil Davis, I believe he suffered a torn ACL early this season, I believe. I should say early this year. So yeah, there's no way he's making the 53-man active roster. He'll probably be put on the PUP list. Maybe he plays this year. If not, hey, he can rehab with the team and then he could try to make the team or make the roster next year. So, but I agree with that, David. David also says go Niners, so Lambs. He says the Lambs are one and done. That's pretty good. Sajin says, don't think the Rams are going back. Hey, man, the Rams have made some additions. They're going to be a pretty tough team as well. One thing I didn't I forgot about, but I should have asked Shifty, what does he think about Kyler Murray and him re-signing with the Cardinals? But that's something we'll talk about another day. But yeah, Kyler Murray, he signed a big deal. He pouted in the offseason and hey, it worked out for him. Now I think it was I forgot the amount of money it was, but it was a 5-year deal, over $100+ million. Guy hasn't won a playoff game. Granted, he has gotten better every year, but yeah, that's some of the news that came out about in the NFC West. Let's see. Also, we have Sean Tuber. What's good? Appreciate you tuning in to the stream tonight, Sean Tuber, man. We had a great stream. I had a great guest on Shifty's 49ers Talk. Sejan says happy for Kyler. Absolutely, man. Happy he got his money, no doubt. He lays it out all on the line. And you know, I'm all for players getting money. So that's for sure. But had a great night tonight. The chat was full. A lot of people contributing to the chat, and that's what I love. That's what I love about this 49er community. I love everyone giving their thoughts on the 49ers, and training camp is only days away. Can't wait for that. David McNew says the Red Chickens had no choice. There are no better options coming in free agency or the draft. Yeah, you got a point there. You got a point there for sure. And you know, that is Kyler Murray is a Cliff Kingsbury guy. I mean, there's a reason why they traded away Josh Rosen, and they also fired their head coach to bring in Cliff Kingsbury. So yeah, I guess it makes sense. They didn't really have a choice, you know. Obviously, of course, the Red Birds, those Sea Chickens, I know they wish it works out for them, but it's going to be I think it's still going to be a tough three-team battle for the NFC West division. And I think DeAndre Hopkins, I think he suspended the first 6 games. So that's definitely going to affect, you know, those Red Birds. That's for sure. Let's see. Appreciate the kind words, man. Appreciate that. Excited for training camp as well. Sean Tuber. Let's see. Libby's World. Let's go Niners. Good night, y'all. Yeah, y'all have a good rest of y'all night. Thanks for watching your boy, Jay in the Bay. And I will see you guys in the next one. Go Niners. And you can tune into my channel, of course. Latest 49ers news, pregame, postgame live streams during the regular season. I will have other 49er content creators come on like Shifty, and we'll talk about, you know, all the latest 49ers news and rumors. Also during the season, I will have other content creators. So let's say when we're playing the Chicago Bears week 1, I will get a Chicago Bears content creator to come on, and we'll talk about our teams and how we got better in the offseason and what our season projects, what we think our teams will do in the season. So that's what you can look forward to when you come to the Jay in the Bay YouTube channel. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great start to your work week tomorrow. And thanks for watching your boy, Jay in the Bay. I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Niners.